Alright, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be walking you through how to get your first professional contract. Let's get to it. Alright, so before we get into the video, I'm going to give you guys a little bit of background into where I'm playing and how I got this position. So I am currently playing for Osceola FC in the UPSL, and it took me a year after graduation to get into this team. Whenever I graduated, college wasn't an option, and I was just stopped playing for about a year, and then I delved back into the soccer world, and then this is whenever I started finding out all this information. So hopefully you guys will get some good tips out of this. So let's start off with, let's just say you graduated high school, or maybe you're going into your senior year, or maybe you graduated about a year ago. I'm gonna show you guys a little bit of how you need to go about getting yourself your first professional contract, because a lot of things that people do whenever they're about to graduate, recently graduated, or just graduated, they go and they look straight into the MLS or the USL, and they don't really think about any other options. Sometimes people look into college and everything, but for me, college wasn't an option, because unless you can go on a full ride, sometimes you just honestly don't have the funds to pay for it. And if you're at the skill level to where you think you can go ahead and play semi-professional or professional, then honestly it wouldn't be a huge waste of time, because you could still get your degree and everything and have kind of like a backup plan if your soccer career never completely works out. But if you think you're already at the skill level, you could go ahead and start getting into the professional realm of soccer here in the US or anywhere else. So let's just say you just got out of high school. The very first place you need to really start looking into is, depending on your skill level, would be the fourth tier of soccer here in the US. So if you look at the soccer pyramid here in the US, we have 4 tiers of soccer here. You have the first tier, which is your MLS professional. Your second tier will be your USL Championship, which is also professional. And then your third tier of professional soccer will be the USL League One. So let's say you're not quite good enough to be playing where you're getting paid week in and week out to be playing soccer for your career, but you are good enough to be playing, just not quite at that level. So the thing that you really should be looking into right now would be the fourth tier. And that's going to include your leagues such as USL League 2, your NPSL, and the league that I'm currently in, the UPSL. Now all this in the fourth tier can get really kind of confusing and murky. The NPSL and UPSL I would say are kind of more on the bottom end of the fourth tier, even though they are on the same line with the USL League 2. But from my personal experience, what I've found is that the USL League 2 is definitely the more professional, if you want to call it that, league out of all 3 of those, and it's definitely got the highest quality. I forget exactly what the stat is, but this past MLS draft, it was a good amount. I would say probably over 50% of the draft were people who had USL League 2 experience. So people who play in the USL League 2 will also usually play D1 or D2 college soccer, because the USL League 2 is only a summer league. So a lot of college players will play there over the summer to keep their skill up and everything like that. And even though that the league itself is classified as a semi-pro league, some teams actually do pay their players if those certain players aren't in any kind of college like D1 or D2 or D3. So then you're gonna jump down to the NPSL and the UPSL. And from my experience, you're gonna get pretty much the same level of quality for the most part. I mean, there will be a few teams here and there that won't be quite up to the same standard as the USL League 2, but everything is pretty similar. The only thing that the 2 leagues lack, especially some of the UPSL teams, they lack a little bit of the fun. So a lot of the USL League 2 teams will have their own stadium, own training fields, everything like that. They give you housing, food, transportation, everything that you need. while some of the NPSL and UPSL teams, they don't give you all that stuff. You have to provide your own food, transportation to games and practices and everything like that. But it's still overall not a bad option to get into the professional realm, because a lot of scouts look into all three of these leagues to advance up into either the USL League One, USL Championship, or even the MLS. I know somebody who was only 19 playing in the UPSL, and then he just signed his first contract at 19 playing in the USL Championship. So he was playing in the UPSL and he just went above all the other steps and then just jumped straight into the USL Championship. So if you're playing in any of the three leagues in the fourth tier, you really do get some good scouts and different coaches from the bigger teams that really come in and look at the different teams. So that is a really good option for you. It's a good stepping stone to get to that next step of your career whenever you're coming out of high school. So how do you get in contact with these teams that are in these leagues? So let's say, for example, you're wanting to try and go for some of the semi-pro teams in the fourth tier, either the USL League 2, NPSL, or UPSL. The one thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to the team's website or the team's Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Most teams have all that now. And you're going to want to be looking out for when they have open tryouts. Now, from my experience, going to open tryouts is probably the best way to get in contact with the teams and the coaches and everything. While you can send, if you have highlight videos of you playing in high school, if like you just recently graduated, you wouldn't want to use a high school tape that's like 2 or 3 years old, because that would be irrelevant at that point. But let's just say you just graduated and you have a good highlight video from you playing either high school and club, or just high school or just club. Then what you can do is you can send it to the team and to the coaches. But I was with a team who got, I think they said they got over like 5,000 emails with highlight videos. So to do that is definitely, it's an option. I do know of teams who have selected players from highlight videos and everything from emails. But from my experience, the best way to get in contact with these teams, and what I've heard from the coaches themselves, is they like to see you in person. They like to talk to you. They like to talk with you after the tryout and everything, get to know more about you personally and see how you actually play in person. Because your highlight video shows all of your good moments, but the things that it won't highlight is your off-ball movement, the simple things that you do right and everything. And if you go to an open tryout, then the coaches can actually see that firsthand. So you go to these open tryouts. The number one thing that I would suggest for you to do is to talk with the coaches, ask them for their feedback and everything, because that will show the coach and the team that you're really interested on improving and interested in playing for that team. I talked with a coach at one of the tryouts that I went to in the USL League 2, and afterwards he called me back wanting me to come into preseason about a month or two later. And if I would have gone, I wasn't able to go because at the time I was injured, so I told him that I wouldn't be able to make it. But if that would have worked out, then I could have been jumping straight into playing the US Open Cup, which is a really big opportunity, especially considering if you're just coming out of high school. So those are going to be the two best ways to get in contact with these teams and these leagues and everything. Find ones that are locally to you, and usually, especially in the UPSL, there are teams pretty much everywhere across the US, and I think they're even in some parts of Canada, so there are pretty much teams anywhere. If I would have known that, it would have been so much help, because whenever I graduated, in my head the only option was either to play college or MLS or USL. I didn't really know anything about all these other leagues, and if I wish I would have known about the fourth tier and the third tier back then, because that would have been so much more help. But to sum it all up, there is always going to be a place for you to play and for you to develop your skill and for you to get scouted and for you to one day advance hopefully into the MLS and everything. So whenever you're coming out of high school, if you're already talking to certain college coaches and everything and you're going to get a scholarship or whatever to go, then that's perfect. I definitely think it is a good route for some people if you want to go and get your degree in something while also playing soccer, and then you can possibly get scouted and drafted into the MLS and everything. That's a perfect option, but a lot of players coming out of high school don't have that option and everything, so definitely start looking into some different teams and different leagues in the 4th tier, whether that's the USL League 2, NPSL, or UPSL. From my experience, those are all really good options that will get you in with some big scouts and everything that will be coming from the MLS, USL Championship, and USL League 1. And who knows, you could just play a few games, a scout comes in, sees you, and want to sign you automatically, and you don't even play a full season in the 4th tier. So it's definitely a great stepping stone to get into the professional realm. And I definitely think if you don't want to go the college route, that will be your best bet overall. Alright, hopefully you guys got something good out of this video. I know whenever you're coming out of high school that trying to find a team and a place to play can get really confusing, especially here in the US, because the way we do our soccer pyramid and everything is really confusing. But hopefully you got some good tips and that you'll be able to apply this to your game, and who knows, maybe you'll be able to be playing in one of these leagues here in the next couple months or so. But hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you drop a like and a comment, and I'll catch you guys in the next video.